Mr. Speaker. It is Conservation Week and it's also the International Year of Biodiversity. And in this country we have been extremely fortunate to have some extraordinary biodiversity assets as a result of our extremely wide range of habitats and historic freedom from pests resulting from geographic isolation. Our small islands represent one of the world's treasure troves for biodiversity. We have the opportunity to enjoy that, but also the responsibility to preserve it. And our history hasn't actually been that great on that front. Since human habitation, we have lost 85% of our lowland forests, 90% of our wetlands, 43% of amphibians, 20% of bats, and somewhere between 20 and 40% of birds. And that's from the world's great avian paradise. I find it personally impossible to visit Zealandia just up the road in Karori here without being profoundly saddened by the catalogue of what has been lost. But what compounds this, sir, making it so much worse, is the extent of the biodiversity crisis that we still face. Well over 2,000 species in New Zealand are currently threatened with extinction, and most of these are in the most modified and least protected parts of the country. Amongst those species threatened with extinction, we number all of our frogs and bats, 89% of our reptiles, 50% of our freshwater fish, some of our iconic marine mammals, and 50% of our remaining birds. Yet, of those more than 2,000 threatened species, only around 250 receive any active conservation protection from the Department of Conservation. Pivotally, we have critical habitat being threatened by human activity or neglect. The Resource Management Act has failed to preserve and enhance endangered habitat on private land, and no onus is placed on the Minister of Conservation to develop species recovery plans. The signs of further devastating decline are everywhere around us, sir. The last wetlands are being drained, our last wild rivers are being dammed, remaining lowland forest is being fragmented and poorly protected, freshwater quality shows increasing decline. We have a pillage mentality being permitted in the fishing industry, most vividly illustrated, I guess, in the Antarctic toothfish down in the Ross Sea, for goodness sake. And intensive pasture-based farming is now expanding into precious tussock lands such as the iconic Mackenzie Basin. And what has our government's response been to this situation? The government has cut the budget for the Department of Conservation, already strapped for cash, by a further $53 million over 3 years, further weakening the department's already powerless ability to respond to the crisis. There have been budget cuts to biosecurity services, threatening our fragile ecosystems with yet more shocks from pest incursions. And we had a clear indication, sir, this year in John Key's speech to open Parliament, that this is a government that sees the environment purely as a set of raw materials for commercial exploitation. I want to illustrate the government's lightweight interest in conservation from question time yesterday. I asked the Minister, how does the Minister think New Zealanders will feel to learn during Conservation Week that our own company, Meridian Energy, may flood 300 hectares of pristine conservation land, putting at risk more than 20 threatened species, when there is a perfectly good alternative scheme that would meet the West Coast power needs? Her answer was this: I think that for a rowie, one of our rarest kiwis, to have been hatched at the beginning of Conservation Week, he was unscathed by the earthquake and is now named Richter, will put a smile on the faces of many New Zealanders as to the importance of conservation in New Zealand. And sir, that's exactly the point. It has nothing to do with the fundamental threats that we face. I would have thought, sir, the government might have learned the lesson from the huge public response to its mining plan. New Zealanders love these places and we want to protect them.